Right, so a couple things. One, on project one, there's several of you that have kind of finished the project, but you still don't have grades for some of the earlier drop boxes. So for some of the earlier, okay? So if you finish, and I've given you an okay, that's great, but you gotta go back and submit to that Dropbox so that I know then that I need to go back and review that and put a grade in for that, okay? Otherwise, it's a real pain in the butt for me, so, okay? So check, for project one, hopefully you're all done, okay? Some of you still got a little work to do, I know, some corrections and stuff to make. But go back and, if you got a grade for the final, but you don't have a grade for sales and, what is it, sales and additional inputs, go back and resubmit that then to that sales and additional inputs, and then I'll see it, and then I can go back and post a grade for that, okay? And that's several of you are in that category, so get that done so I make sure that we get those grades through there, so you kind of know where you're sitting on project one. Should be pretty much, everybody should be pretty much done, okay? This week you got, I think, several assignments, don't you? You got chapter 9, isn't it? And is Ole and Lena due this week too? Yeah, okay. And then next week, I think you're on chapter 10, and then I give you some other supplemental problems maybe to work on and a few other things. Some of those are fairly simple. Ole and Lena, gets a little bit, it's a word problem that the words are worse than the math, okay?
Purple.
Yeah.
Alien for a house.
Exactly. So it's not that difficult. Don't make it harder than it is, right? Just kind of look through it, and I think there's a video that goes along with Ole and Lena to try to give you guys some instructions about how to do that, right? Okay, I will be gone. I'll be here Thursday, but then I will be gone for the 2 weeks following. Okay, that was kind of pre-planned. That was part of my conditions for coming out of retirement, and because this was pre-planned quite a while ago. So, and that should be pretty much set in stone. So, you guys will still have your assignments. I think they should all be there. Videos. I will check my emails probably pretty much every day. So if you got any questions or something, email. If something's really problematic, I'm sure we could make contact in some fashion. If not emails, texts, or my wife might let me borrow her phone or something if I had to even call and have a conference or something. So if something comes up, feel free to try to get a hold of me and say an email. I'll check those every day. So if you got an issue or a concern or something, you can go ahead and email that to me. Again, it'd be my recommendation that you guys meet, help each other out with some of these problems and stuff that are coming up, okay? Just don't everybody submit the exact same work. That's actually pretty easy for me to identify, because Excel will tell me, okay? So, yeah, do your own work, but if you help each other, show people how to do it, that's fine. I mean, that's teaching, and there's nothing wrong with that. So your first assignment for project 2 was the ticker symbol, and I gave away most of those, I think. Okay, so if anybody has any problems with the ticker symbol, by the way, read through these. I got some Word documents here that tell us about what project 2 is about. I'm going to enlarge this here. Yeah, here's the introduction, right? I want you to develop some skills, on and on and on. You're going to write a paper, okay, 5 pages, not terribly long, but I want some detail into that. It's going to have an intro and a conclusion. Okay, I'm going to say this about 47 times between now and the end of the semester. You will have an introductory. I'm trying to get you into this mode of how to write a proper paper as well. So you will have an introduction, you will have a conclusion. It's going to contain some parts. You're going to tell me a little bit about the history of the company, the industry that it competes in. There's one other thing in there, and then a detailed financial analysis. So the main body of it's going to be that detailed financial analysis. history of the company, industry that it competes, oh, it's strategy, sorry, would be the third thing, and then the fourth thing, and the major thing is gonna be that detailed financial analysis of the company. I give you some of these, but I'm gonna flip back here, because if you come up here to the top, and I think I've told you, I like this Seeking Alpha. FINRA's a good one too. I might take a quick look at both of these today. Just to kind of show you a little bit what the differences are. Now, I'm also going to tell you, I give you these resources to find the basic information about these companies, okay? That's only the basic information. You can't write a good paper with only using these sources. I give these to you just to get you started, okay? You're going to have to, the primary source that you're probably going to want to use are the annual reports that these companies put out, okay? Annual reports, they're gonna look horrible to you. They're all about 100, 120 pages long, okay? But guess what? The financial portion of it's 10 pages, okay? And so it's not as daunting as it looks, okay? And when I get back, then we'll sit here between then and the end of the semester. I'll call up maybe even some of your companies. We'll take a look at some of the information and say, what's going on there. So talk about it a little bit, try to give you guys some ideas of what you want to look for in your own company. So your next assignment is going to be this finding financial information. I got a Word doc here for that. Expand that a little bit. So you should have found the stock quote, right, for the ticker symbol assignment. Okay. And I asked you for some real basic information there. And again, we'll go look at that Seeking Alpha and the FINRA both and kind of take a look at the information that I'm requiring here. But here I want you to report like the sales trend for the past 3 years and calculate the annual growth. So in some of your assignments that you've had for Chapter 9, I believe, you're going to learn how to calculate growth rates, right? As you go through from now on, a lot of the stuff that we're going to do using Excel and a lot of the formulas and things that we do, there's 4 variables, right? And you can find the fifth, there's 4 variables. If you have 3, you can find the 4th one, right? And sometimes there's 5 variables and you'll have 4 and then you can find the 5th one, right? So if you know what the present value is and you know what the future value is and you know what the term is, you can find the rate. Okay. Again, if you know what the rate is and the term and the present value, you can find the future value, right? Okay. And so all those, are pretty simple. Excel does the work for you. And so when I say calculate the annual growth rate, that's kind of what I'd like you to do. You can actually probably find this online too, but do it yourself and compare your figures. See if you come up with the same thing, right? Earnings per share trend, same thing. What's the most recent ROE? What's ROE stand for? Return on equity. Yep. ROA, return on assets, right? What's the gross profit trend? Okay, again, we'll look at that Seeking Alpha. It's going to tell you. And what I'm interested in there is not the absolute number. I'm interested in the percentage, right? Okay. If our gross profit was 50% 5 years ago, now it's down to 40%. We're losing margins then, right? Okay, so our trend then would be negative in that sense. Okay, not good anyhow, right? Okay, same thing with the operating expense trend. Again, I'm not looking for absolute numbers. I mean, if your revenues have doubled in the last 5 years and your operating expenses have doubled as well, the absolute number would look awful, right? For operating expenses, but relatively speaking, it should look okay. It would have stayed at, X percent. And then take a look at the company's long-term debt. So that's just getting you to open up the balance sheet then. A lot of this other stuff's going to come from that income statement. But I want you to open up the balance sheet then. Okay. And here's where I talk about, basic informations, right? You can usually find that wherever. But sometimes you got to find this annual report, okay? And we'll go to these sites, and I think you can oftentimes, right from these sites, get to the annual report. And let's go take a look and see. So if we come up here, and I got the Seeking Alpha, hopefully that opens it in a new link, yep. Okay. see. Where do I gotta go to here? Oh, right here, sorry, gosh. Let me pick a company, not one of your guys's, I'm just gonna try to think of one. Okay. WD-40, we're all familiar with WD-40, right? Okay, so your first assignment, I asked you for what, the last closing price, days range, let's see, yeah, that wouldn't give me the last closing price. I should be able to find that, but maybe not. Let's go here, and it'll show me. Okay, the last closing price would also be the opening price today, so 173.25 if I'm looking at Seeking Alpha. So I came over here to what the opening price was, that would have been the closing price from yesterday then as well, right? Basically. Okay, what else do I ask for in that first assignment? Ticker symbol, last closing price. Should be. So do you guys know, let's see, nobody has that open. Well, let's go find it then. Project 2, ticker symbol, the assignment there. We got an assignment thing there, huh? Oh, there, no, no. There should be a Word doc for that as well. Maybe it shows up here though. No, maybe I don't have it in here. Shame on me, I'll find it. Okay. Yeah, no, I should have a Word doc for that or something right in the deal, so. I was looking at that earlier though, before you guys came in, so how come I can't find it now? Huh. Yeah, sorry. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry, it's in this introduction. Okay, so that's confusing, I'm sorry, but it's in the introduction here. It says, tell me the company's last closing price, tell me the company's PE, or price to earnings ratio, and tell me the company's previous year's earnings per share. Yeah, not the previous year's earnings per share won't. Yep, yep. Tell me the date. Okay. The other thing that, like I asked for the PE ratio, and I think I showed you guys before, you know, in this case, the PE, and see what it says behind that? FWD, so that's forward-looking PE, okay? You might find something, so I'm always real cautious when I correct these because you might look this up on Yahoo Finance, and they might give the trailing 12 months PE, which might be completely different than the forward-looking PE, okay? So I'm usually fairly cautious as I look at these and correct them, you know. I call up your company, I take a look at it, I try to make sure that you're in the ballpark. If it looks a little weird, then I might look a little further, but often that's what I find is that, well, you gave me the trailing 12 months or, you know, last year's PE, because some of them would give you last year's PE, right? And so you can get some different numbers there, and I get that. The idea is that you guys are just opening this up, taking a look, and trying to find it, So that's it for that first assignment, right, under the introduction. Last closing price. Again, put the date down there so I get, you know, I get a rough idea of the date that you found that, okay? And company's previous year earnings per share, that should be right here as well then, right? Now this is forward, so I might have to look at something else, right? Because it's giving me earnings per share, FWD, and I want last year's earnings per share. Let's take a look at earnings here, see if that tells me. Yeah, it gives me last quarters. That's annual. That's again forward looking, because that's revenue or earnings per share estimate. gotta go look, I gotta go look at, yeah, I'm gonna have to go look at the financials in this case. FINRA might give me something completely different, we'll see. Net earnings, basic earnings per share, okay? So their year end, their year end's obviously different. Remember, I told you that you gotta kind of watch. Companies may have different year ends. They're not all calendar year ends. So their year end is in August. They should be coming out soon with their 2022 annual earnings, right? I'm kind of surprised they're not showing here yet, but it's possible that the annual earnings take a little while longer to get out. So their August 2021, their earnings per share, I got diluted earnings per share, I got basic earnings per share, basic EPS. What's the difference? I'll tell you. Okay, $5.11 would be the right answer anyhow for last year, would be fine. Why is diluted earnings per share say 5.09? Okay. Pretty simple. What happens on these is a lot of companies give things like stock options and those types of things to especially executives. Okay, and a stock option is just the right for that executive to buy that stock in the future, but at maybe today's price, okay? So it incentivizes that executive to make the company do well. So 5 years from now, if the stock's selling for, $150 today, okay, they can buy that stock 5 years from now for $150. It might be worth $200 a share 5 years from now, right? So they could buy it and immediately realize a $50 per share gain, okay? When they do the diluted earnings per share, they're just calculating those stock options basically into that. And so that's why you'll see a little difference there. If you put down, if you want to use the diluted earnings per share, that's fine, right? Diluted EPS, boom, give me the number. Okay? Make sense? So that's it for that first one. But then we go to the finding. Let me bounce back though, because I want to look at the FINRA site too, show you how it looks a little bit different. FINRA always used to be my go-to site, and so this is finding the Seeking Alpha. I'm still kind of bouncing around on that one a little bit, but I like the information because it gives you those percentages and whatnot. So do the same company. Takes a little bit. Gives me the profile. Looks a little different, doesn't it? So I come down, dividend, boom. Key statistics, here's where I might find some of the price to earnings. 3906, what was the other one, 35 something? So my guess is this is based on last year's. Okay. Maybe trailing 12 months, it doesn't really tell us, but it was a little different than the one from Seeking Alpha, so that's fine. Yeah, probably trailing 12 months then if that's the case. TTM, right? Net income, diluted earnings per share, that's as a percentage. So I might have to come down here and look at this, right? I also got price to earnings here. Boom. Return on, you're going to want that later, right? Return on assets, return on equity. There it gives it to you. Dividends. Didn't that ever give me earnings per share? That's interesting. Huh. This thing, the nice thing about this one versus the Seeking Alpha is that you can go back these 10 years. Seeking Alpha didn't. And I can get more, it says more performance, so I can open that up. Still didn't give me the, give you some valuation data, see what that tells me. Price to forward earnings, so that should be similar to the other one, although it's missing the most recent. Interesting how it's missing some stuff. They, in this one, they've changed quite a bit through the years. You can go to the financials, it brings it down. This should have the earnings per share. Gosh, look at that, it's not showing that though, is it? Let me swing over. Yeah, they're the 511, so the same as the other one. Looks like the trailing 12 months has dropped down to 444, so their performance is starting to be impaired a little bit. This one's missing some information. That's kind of crazy. Usually FINRA's been really good, so. Anyhow, 2 sites, you can mess around with them a little bit. Okay, for the finding financial information, let's go back and look at what that one says. Sales trend for the past 3 years. Let's go to that Seeking Alpha on here. Okay, sales and revenues are the same thing, right? Okay, so for the last 3 years, if I don't use the trailing 12 months, I go, well, I've gone from 423.4 to 488.1. Okay. Over a 3-year period of time, I can calculate what that growth rate is. TTM, so that's the trailing 12 months. That should be their year end for 2022 would be my guess. Okay, but it doesn't say that. Again, August is their year end, and so they haven't come out apparently with their, that's a little bit unusual. Usually they come out within the first month or so and give what their annual earnings and stuff were. Yeah, yeah, so it's, yeah, that's very possible. Yep. Yep. Yeah, or, and we'll take a look. I'll kind of show you guys where to look for the annual reports and whatnot too, so. So the report the earnings per share trend, same thing, right? We had earnings per share down here. Again, if we go to the basic, it's gone from 403 to 511. Okay, not too difficult, right? What's the, calculate the annual growth rate again? Okay, I got a present value. My present value is actually my past value. We could almost call that. And then my future value is actually the most recent one. Yeah. My term's 3. Boom, I can calculate what that growth rate is. Okay. Most recent ROE, return on equity. That time, that's oftentimes under a different deal. Let me see if it gives us like statistics up here. Dividends, earnings, balance sheet valuation, growth. Profitability, maybe. Margin, return on total capital, return on total assets, so there's one, right? Return on common equity is fine. They got common equity, but should be the same as return on equity, right? And this is the number, so this is the most recent. It's giving you what other companies in that industry kind of do and how they compare. Okay. So their return on common equity is 30.5. The sector median is 12.21, so they do quite a bit better than what the sector is. That's not a part of your assignment, but kind of interesting. ROA, again, that's right in there. Return on total assets, 14.2. Gross profit trend. So this is where on this Seeking Alpha it's nice because again, so I got revenues, cost of revenues, here's my gross profit. Again, in absolute numbers, it's gone from 232 to 263, but I want to know this, okay? It's gone from 54.88% to 54.03%, a slight compression, you know, of the gross margin, right? Not bad. I mean, it's less than 1 percentage point. That doesn't seem like a lot, but if you're Walmart and you're selling $500 billion worth of stuff every year, 1% is a lot of money, okay? 1% of 500 billion is about $5 billion, okay? So, believe me, working with these fractions of percents is actually kind of a big deal. Operating expense trend for the last 5 years. Okay, it's kind of nice. I got my operating expenses. Selling and general total operating expenses have gone from 35.42. So they've actually gone up a little bit, right? So again, I'm kind of compressing my overall profit margin here just a little bit, maybe by 1.5 percentage points. It's kind of offset because I've had pretty good growing revenues. Okay? So my operating income then has decreased from 19.5 to 18.2, right? So yeah, about 1.3 or so. Difference change, so, okay. And then for the long-term debt, I gotta come up and change this to the balance sheet. Long-term assets, current liabilities, long-term liabilities, right? Long-term debt, okay, this is as a percentage, which that may be okay to look at, right? Versus I can come up also and look at the absolute number. Big jump from here to here. They doubled their long-term debt, okay, from 19 to 20. Well, what was going on in 19 and 20? COVID, yeah. You know, did they take on, and a lot of companies did that. Also, interest rates were really, really low. You know, so the company might have just made a strategic decision to say, hey, let's take on a little bit of debt here while rates are really, really low. It's possible. How am I going to find that out? This is my example of how you're going to have to look for things and kind of some of the things you're looking for. I'm going to have to read the 2020 annual report because that's going to tell me. I'll get to the financial portion. It's going to say, hey, we took on some extra long-term debt because. And those are the kinds of things that I'll be looking for in that final paper, right? Something like this that kind of jumps out at you a little bit. I always say Costco is probably the worst company to analyze because Costco just is the same thing year after year after year. There's just nothing exciting about the company, but nothing bad about the company either. They just kind of keep doing the same thing, which is good. So, okay, so that's that assignment. Any questions about that? I also ask you to examine the company's most recent annual report and tell me what it does in the words of management. Okay, let me bounce up here because I think that they've got, if I'm not mistaken, let me hit this arrow here. Thought that I had seen on here. Yeah. So when I hit the summary and then it says SEC filings. SEC is Security and Exchange Commission filings, and every company that's publicly traded has to file a quarterly statement with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Okay, the CEO and the CFO both have to sign off on that financial statement. So when I click on that, here's what I'm kind of looking for. I got the 10Q quarterly report, 8Ks are additional information. Okay. I'm looking for a 10K. Oh, looky there. Okay. So, yep, their 2021 annual report didn't come out until October 22nd, so the 2022 one's probably not going to come out here for a couple more weeks yet, too. But if I click on that, I get it here. Okay. I can view it as a PDF, which I would recommend that for your company, if you go through, if I kept scrolling down on that, I would have found, I'll bet you, the annual reports going back for 4, 5, 6 years, okay? And if I were you, I'd just get these PDFs and put them on your computer, on your jump drive or whatever you got, thumb drive, whatever the heck it is, and save them, because you'll be referring to them pretty often. And so I said, in the words of management, tell me what the company does, and I'll tell you here. See, page 1, it says business, and you come down to there, and it says business, item 1, business. WD-40 Company is a global marketing organization dedicated to creative, positive, lasting memories by developing and selling products that solve problems in workshops, factories, and homes around the world. The company was founded in 1953 and headquartered in San Diego, California. I'm done. Okay, I copy and paste that into that assignment, and you're done. Okay, and everybody's annual report. This is to get you to find that annual report is really what I want you to do. And then find this statement in there. And first paragraph, I don't need to do the rest of it. one paragraph should give me plenty of insight into what the company does. I'm just looking to make sure that you got that annual report opened up and that you're kind of hunting and finding something like this in there. Copy and paste it, that's fine. Have what the company does, according to the management. Okay? And this will probably read the same way in every annual report that they've done for the last 20 years, unless they've had some major changes of some sort, so. Okay? So yeah, so I don't, that's not meant to be a real difficult part of the assignment. You should be able to find that. Everybody in the annual report, in the first page or two, first paragraph probably is gonna give you exactly what you need for that particular thing. If you find something different, let me know. We'll take a look at it, so. Questions? Okay, I'm gonna shut this down then and come around for any of you guys, especially if you're still needing a little help on your project one. Let's go over it.